Doug Lehman, breaking it down in layman's terms. And today I've got a special guest, somebody I've known online for a decade and some change, a real LinkedIn expert, America's social selling expert, whole lot more. Now, he's the chief business officer at Vengreso, Kurt Shaver. And Kurt's got an extensive background in LinkedIn training. He's synonymous with LinkedIn Sales Foundry, and a whole lot more. Kurt, it's good to finally meet you virtually in layman's terms.
Hey, Doug, how's it going? I'm looking forward to our chat.
I'm looking forward to it too, Kurt, because like I said, I've known you online through LinkedIn. Imagine that, LinkedIn. And I've seen a lot of your great work and what you're doing at Vengreso, but your history. You're an engineer. You have an engineering background. What made the pivot to selling? I just got to ask that off the top, looking at your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I know it's surprising. Everybody's always shocked I'm an engineer. But it was a very quick pivot. I was an engineering student. The company came onto campus and they were looking for very technical people to sell a very technical product. They only hired degreed engineers. They asked one of my professors, like, hey, who's one of your decent engineering students that can walk and chew gum at the same time? Meaning, like, can they carry a conversation? Are they personal, et cetera? And he said, go talk to that guy right there. Pointed at me. I started talking to him. And of course, my first thought was like, oh my God, 5 years of engineering school out the window. But I started right then, sales, first job out of school, and been doing that for more than 10 years.
For a little while, but when you talked about communication and having those skills, obviously you have the engineering background and you're well versed in public speaking and training. You've trained thousands of people. Don't take my word for it. Look at the LinkedIn profile. And speaking of LinkedIn, you went all in on LinkedIn, especially when it went public. When did you have that epiphany for B2B sales training saying, look, I'm going in on LinkedIn?
So this is kind of a fun story. So and you'll know the history of LinkedIn. So I was in corporate sales for 20 years. Then I went out on my own doing general sales training for 3 years. In February of 2011, I was conducting a class about prospecting. It was a all-day class, and I did about 20 minutes on LinkedIn. Well, people kept asking questions about LinkedIn. This is 2011, remember, February 2011. And I said, listen, we got to move on because I got so many other prospecting tips to talk about. We can't just talk about LinkedIn. And somebody in the back of the room said, why don't you just do a whole class about LinkedIn prospecting? And I recognized an opportunity. I said, if I did that, how many of you people would pay to attend? Every hand in the room went up. And I said, that was the epiphany. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. It'll take me 3 months to create the curriculum. And I expect you guys to all be back here in 3 months, in your paid seat. Well, February, March, April, May. You know what happened in May 11th, 2011? LinkedIn went public. So here I was, I had a class. LinkedIn went public. It was all over the news. Everybody's like, LinkedIn. We got to learn LinkedIn. And I had a class that was scheduled to start 2 weeks after. So it sold out instantly. And, the rest is history. That was the
It was all part of your master plan.
It's better to be lucky than good. That's what happened.
But you had preparation for action. Obviously, you were doing the LinkedIn train courses. You've got a lot of content. Speaking of training, you're with one of the most dynamic digital selling companies out there, Vengreso. So what brought you into the fold with Vengreso, being a founder and all?
Well, it was, I guess, a combination of a couple of things. One was to work with such talented people that I ended up with as my co-founders. The other was really a realization that the business that we were in, that digital selling, that social selling world, was very much of a cottage industry. It was dominated by soloists, consultants like I was, like most of my founders were. And but the large companies needed it, whether it was large company with hundreds or thousands of sellers or global companies. We needed to be able to scale, and we needed more people, and we needed to operate really like a company with other functions, right? Marketing, sales, delivery. And so it was kind of the combination of those factors of seeing it was a very nascent industry dominated by solopreneurs, and that as it was going to explode, it was going to need more scale.
Well, being scalable and with the dynamic team that you guys have over at Vengreso, Kurt, a couple more things, just a parting shot. Anything that you would like to add for our audience right now? I know you do a lot with video, and we'll definitely continue that conversation at another time, but personalizing the video messages, anything that you would like to add for our audience right now?
Well, I'm just going to reinforce that one. I say to every salespeople now, you've got to learn video messaging, right? Recorded video messaging. It's like a no-brainer. You've got the phone, you've got your email, you've got your social messaging. Video is that fourth arrow in the quiver that's really going to differentiate you. And in this current era that we're in of COVID, where there's very little face-to-face meetings and conferences, that's such a critical part of the humanity, the rapport building, the real human connection that's needed. So I tell everybody I talk to in sales, you've got to learn how to master video messaging.
You got to be able to master, and Kurt Shaver is a definite master at LinkedIn training, sales training, social selling, digital selling, all types of selling.
I'm tired just hearing all that.
Yeah, hearing all that, but the video piece with Vengreso, selling with video, is something you need to look at. And you definitely need to check out Vengreso and all the fine work that Kurt and his team are doing. Kurt, I want to thank you for coming on Layman's Terms, and I want to thank you out there for social watching.